Alright, welcome back and welcome to the preview video for UFC 305 Dricus Du Plessis vs Israel Adesanya in Australia. In this video we will go over all the picks that have been made so far by the UFC Predictions Channels on YouTube. Before we begin, thanks to the person who supported me on Buy Me a Coffee this week. It helps the channel a lot, so much appreciated. Somewhere next week I'm planning to open a Patreon account as an extra option to support this channel. This will include some extra perks like daily updates of newly added picks for each fight and more. But more about that next week when it's ready. Okay, let's get started with the numbers for this card. And to begin, we will quickly go over the totals for this event. We have a total of 12 fights. 59 channels made a total of 663 predictions so far, so on average each channel made predictions for 11.2 fights on this card. With that out of the way, let's get into all the fights for this card. The first fight on the prelims is in the flyweight division between the Australian Stewart Nicoll, who is making his UFC debut, and Jesus Aguilar from Mexico. This week I've added 6 new fighter stats: stance, significant strikes landed per minute and accuracy, takedown average and success and submission average. As this is Stewart's first fight for the UFC, there are no stats available for him. Stewart is the favorite with minus 232 in average odds, and Jesus is the underdog with plus 185. 74% of the Tapology community favor Stewart Nicoll to win this fight versus 26% who think that Jesus Aguilar wins. Most people predict this fight goes to a decision. But Stewart is even a bigger favorite in picks from the prediction channels on YouTube. 44 out of 52 channels or 85% predict him to win versus Jesus, who is only picked 8 out of 52 times or 15%. The best predictors over the last 2 months with a return of investment of 5% plus, channel names in light green are 5 to 10% return of investment and dark green is 10% and higher, pick Stewart 4 out of 7 and Jesus 3 out of 7. Next is a fight in the welterweight division between Song Kenan from China and Ricky Glenn from the United States. Song Kenan is the favorite in average odds with minus 175, so not a big favorite, and Ricky Glenn is the underdog with plus 144. But in picks by the Tapology community, Song Kenan is a huge favorite. 90% pick him to win this fight and only 10% pick Ricky. And most think that Song Kenan will KO or TKO Ricky. So there's a big difference between the odds and picks here. But it gets even crazier with the predictions from the YouTube channels, because all 55 channels are picking Song Kenan to win. Not a single channel is picking Ricky to win this fight. So again, a huge difference in odds between the odds makers and the predictions channels. You would think that, seeing Song as such a huge favorite in picks by the prediction channels and Tapology, that he would be a bigger favorite in odds. So, what do you think? Is this a good betting opportunity or not? Let us know in the comments. The third fight on the prelims is between Tom Nolan from Australia and Alex Reyes, the brother of Dominic Reyes from the United States. And looking at these stats, this fight should stay on the feet, as both have zeros everywhere for takedowns. Another fun fact, which a YouTube channel mentioned, which I forget the name of, is that Alex Reyes hasn't fought for so long that he is still wearing the old Reebok pants in this picture. Tom Nolan is a huge favorite with over minus 1200 in average odds, making him the biggest favorite of this card. And Alex Reyes is the biggest underdog on this card with plus 700. 97% on Tapology agree with the odds makers and pick Tom Nolan to win this fight via a KO or TKO. And 53 out of 56 YouTube channels or 95% predict that Tom wins this fight. But despite being such a huge underdog, still 3 channels have picked Alex Reyes to win this fight. None of the best predictors pick Alex to win here. They have all picked Tom. It looks like Alex Reyes will have a tough fight against Tom Nolan. The next fight on the prelims is between the Australian Jack Jenkins and the Brazilian Herbert Burns, the brother of Gilbert Burns. And just like the previous fight, we have a huge favorite and underdog in odds. Jack Jenkins is the very big favorite with minus 795 in average odds, and Herbert Burns is the big underdog with plus 539. 98% of the people from the Tapology community predict that Jenkins wins this fight by a KO or TKO, making him the biggest favorite in picks by the Tapology community on this card. And only 2% pick Burns to win. And basically the same results with picks from the YouTube channels. 54 out of 55 channels predict that Jenkins wins here, so 98% as well. And only one channel has picked Herbert Burns, which is Just Win Baby MMA. And the best predictors all pick Jack Jenkins to win. Next is a flyweight fight between Casey O'Neill from Scotland and Luana Santos from Brazil. Luana is the slight favorite with minus 147 in odds versus Casey with plus 121 in average odds. But Luana is a much bigger favorite in picks by the Tapology community. 79% predict that she will win this fight and most think it will be by a decision. And 21% pick Casey to win this fight. And the YouTube prediction channels agree. Luana is the favorite again, and 38 out of 51 channels or 75% predict her to win. And 13 out of 51 channels or 25% predict that Casey wins this fight. But the best predictors over the last 2 months heavily favor Luana Santos and pick her 6 out of 7 times. So in picks, Luana seems a bigger favorite than in odds. Then we have a featherweight fight between Josh Culibao from Australia and Ricardo Ramos from Brazil. Josh is the favorite with minus 150 in odds and Ricardo is the underdog with plus 123 in average odds. So pretty close. But in picks from the Tapology community it is anything but close. 89% predict that Josh wins this fight by decision and only 11% pick Ricardo to win. In picks from the YouTube predictions, Josh is also the favorite, although a bit less than from the Tapology community. 43 out of 55 channels or 78% pick him to win this fight, and 12 channels out of 55 or 22% predict that Ricardo wins. 5 out of 8 of the best predictors pick Josh and 3 out of 8 pick Ricardo. Then the last fight on the prelims is a heavyweight fight between Junior Tafa from Australia and Valter Walker from Brazil, who is the brother of Johnny Walker. So yeah, this card is full of brothers. And what all these brothers have in common is that they are all underdogs. But Valter Walker is a very small underdog compared to the other brothers on this card. He has plus 109 in odds and Junior Tafa is a small favorite with minus 133 in average odds. But in terms of picks by the Tapology community, Tafa is a bigger favorite and is getting 77% of the picks and Walker gets 23% of the picks. And most think that if Tafa wins it will be via a KO or TKO. But the YouTube prediction channels are more in line with the odds makers. Junior Tafa is a small favorite and 29 out of 55 channels or 53% predict him to win. And 26 channels predict that Walker wins here, or 47%. And the best predictors are exactly 50-50. So overall a close matchup. If you like the content of this video and find it helpful or informative, then don't forget to like this video or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much. Then we go to the main card, and the opening fight is between Jingliang from China and Carlos Prates from Brazil. And Carlos is a pretty big favorite with minus 353 in average odds. and Lee is the underdog with plus 273 in average odds. And also in picks from the Tapology community, Carlos is the favorite. 75% predict he will win this fight via KO or TKO, and 25% predict that Lee wins this match. Prates is even a bigger favorite in picks from the YouTube prediction channels. 47 out of 55 pick him to win, or 85%, and only 8 channels pick Lee to win, or 15%. And only one of the best prediction channels over the last 2 months pick Lee to win, and 7 of them pick Carlos to win. So in odds and picks, this looks like a difficult match for Lee. And next up, we have a fight that will almost for sure not go to a decision. A fight in the heavyweight division between the Australian Tuivasa and Jairzinho Rozenstruik from Suriname. Jairzinho is the favorite in odds with minus 227 and Tuivasa is the underdog with plus 182 in average odds. Jairzinho is also the favorite in picks by the Tapology community. 70% pick him to win and 30% pick Tuivasa. And we see the same by the YouTube prediction channels. Jairzinho is the favorite and 36 out of 55 channels or 65% pick him to win. Tuivasa is picked 19 out of 55 or 35%. And he's only picked 1 time by the best predictors and Jairzinho is picked 7 out of 8 times by them. Next is a fight in the lightweight division between Mateusz Gamrot from Poland and Dan Hooker from New Zealand. And as you can see from the stats at the bottom, this is a typical grappler versus striker matchup. And the odds makers favor the grappler in this match. Mateusz is a pretty big favorite with minus 353 in average odds and Dan Hooker the underdog with plus 269. And Tapology agrees. 85% pick Gamrot to win via a decision and only 15% predict that Dan Hooker wins. Gamrot is also a big favorite by the YouTube prediction channels. 51 out of 57 predict that he wins this fight, or 89%, and only 6 channels pick Dan Hooker, or 11% of all the channels. It is looking a little bit better when you look at the channels with a 5% plus return of investment. From them, Dan is picked 2 out of 8 or 25%, and Gamrot is picked 6 out of 8 for 75%. Then we go to the co-main event of the evening, which is a fight in the flyweight division between Kai Kara-France from New Zealand and Steve Erceg from Australia, who are both at the top of the flyweight division. Steve is the favorite with minus 169 in odds and Kai is the underdog with plus 139 in average odds. Steve is a big favorite in picks by the Tapology community and 85% predict him to win and only 15% pick Kai Kara-France to win. So a much bigger favorite in picks than in odds. What about the YouTube prediction channels? Well, the same picture. Steve is again a big favorite and 44 out of 58 channels or 76% pick him to win this fight and 14 channels out of 58 pick Kai to win or 24%. And the same for the best predictors. 6 out of 8 or 75% pick Steve and 2 out of 8 pick Kai for 25%. Then, for the last fight of this card, we have the main event between Dricus Du Plessis from South Africa and Israel Adesanya from Nigeria for the title of the middleweight division. And Israel Adesanya is the favorite, although very small, with minus 120 in average odds, and Dricus Du Plessis has minus 104 in average odds. And also, by the Tapology community, it is almost exactly even. Here again, Adesanya is a tiny favorite with 51% and Dricus gets 49%. So basically a coin flip according to the odds makers and the Tapology community. What about the UFC prediction channels? Who is the favorite according to them? Well, here it is reversed and Dricus is the favorite. And a bit bigger favorite because 59% of the prediction channels pick him to win. or 35 out of 59. And they pick Israel 24 out of 59 times for 41%. But when we look at the picks of the best prediction channels, it is reversed again, and 5 out of 8 pick Israel to win, or 63%, and 3 out of 8 pick Dricus to win, or 38%. So, all in all, this fight looks like a coin flip in terms of picks and odds, which should make it a very close and exciting match. Who do you predict to win this fight? Let us know in the comments. And for the last part of the video, we take a look at which channels pick the favorite fighter in odds the most and which channels pick the underdogs the most. Which channels are playing it safe and which channels go against the odds. In fourth place for picking the favorite is the Ice Files. He picked the favorite 9 out of 10 times. In third place is Lucas Tracy MMA. He picked the favorite 10 out of 11 times. Then in second place we have these 8 channels. They picked the favorite fighter in odds 11 out of 12 times. And in number 1 we have Dissection of Violence and The Weasel. They both picked the favorite fighter in odds 12 out of 12 times, or 100% of the time. Now, which channels are a bit riskier with their picks this week? In fifth place of going against the odds are these 6 channels. They picked the underdog 4 out of 12 times, or 33% of the time. In fourth place is Alexander Volkanovski. He picked the underdog 3 out of 8 times. Basically all the Aussies and New Zealanders underdogs, which are Tai Tuivasa, Kai Kara-France and Dan Hooker. In third place is Bro No Cap. He only made 5 predictions and picked the underdog 2 times for 40%. In second place for picking the underdog the most are High Jive Picks, Cody from the Dogger Pass podcast on the Mayo Media Network channel, MMA El Dente, Mom's Basement MMA and Uncle Weezy. They all picked the underdog 5 times out of their 12 picks for 41.7%. And in number 1 this week for picking the underdogs the most are Based Goddess and Bet Slam with Sam. They both picked the underdog 5 times but made picks on 11 fights instead of 12, so they picked the underdog 45.5% of the time. Alright, that was it for all the picks, predictions and stats for this card. Hope you all found it helpful and informative. Please like and subscribe, it does help a lot. Have a great weekend and I hope you enjoy this amazing card. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video.